Hey everyone, and welcome back. So for today's deep dive, we're tackling something I know a lot of you struggle with, and honestly, I do too.
Oh, let me guess. Stage fright. I've got some stories.
That's for another time.
Yeah.
Now, today it's running out of breath when you're singing, especially those long phrases. Seriously, who hasn't been there? You get to that big note and PFFT,
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah, I can see why you picked this request. It's universal. And luckily, there's tons of advice out there.
Exactly. We're diving into an excerpt, how to not run out of breath while singing. Super practical stuff, and I'm
Yeah.
hoping we can bust some myths along the way.
Love it. Myth busting is the best. So, where do we start?
Well, the source goes straight to breath control, calls it like the foundation of good singing.
Yeah, makes total sense. Think of it like an athlete, right? Good stamina is everything. Same with singing. Solid breath control means a clear, balanced tone, and let's be honest, confidence too. You just feel more in control.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing, and maybe it's just me. Sometimes I feel like I'm taking in these huge EE breaths.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Yeah, but then, bam, still out of air, way too fast. What's up with that?
Uh-huh. That's where this source gets really interesting. It says that over-inhaling is actually counterproductive. It's like trying to cram too much air into a balloon. You just end up with a tight, strained sound, and it bursts out too quickly.
Oh, that's a great analogy, because you're basically creating all this tension, trying to force the air out.
Precisely. Physiologically speaking, you're putting way too much pressure on your vocal cords so the air escapes faster, and it can even lead to strain or vocal fatigue.
So it's not about quantity, it's about quality.
You got it. Controlled, deep breaths that engage your diaphragm. That's the key.
Okay, so controlled breathing. Check. But there's another thing I've noticed. Even when I think I'm breathing right, sometimes my singing still sounds kind of breathy.
Ah, I see. You're talking about that airy sound where you can hear the air escaping instead of a full, clear tone?
Exactly. It's like my voice is just floating away instead of having that power behind it. Super frustrating.
Well, that's where chord closure comes into play. Have you ever heard of that?
Chord closure, I think so, but maybe just in passing. Refresh my memory.
Sure. So basically, it's about making sure your vocal cords are connecting efficiently to produce a strong, clear sound. When your cords don't fully close, air leaks out and you get that breathy tone.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. So how do we fix that? Any tips?
There are definitely some things you can try. One helpful image is to imagine your throat like a narrow, relaxed passageway. Avoid any tension or squeezing, and try humming gently. Feel how the air feels focused and controlled.
Yeah, I can feel that.
That's the sensation you want to aim for when you're singing. It's about finding that balance between airflow and chord closure. Think of it like this. You want just enough air to support the sound, but not so much that it overwhelms it.
Got it. So
Yeah.
we've got our controlled breath, our chords are cooperating. What's next? How do we put it all together?
Well, think about how you approach phrases when you're singing. Do you focus on singing each syllable separately, or do you think about singing through the entire phrase?
That's a good question. I'm probably guilty of focusing too much on individual notes, especially when things get tricky.
Many singers do. But this source emphasizes thinking about each musical phrase as one unit, smoothly moving from note to note rather than chopping them up. It's kind of like speaking right. We don't pause after every syllable.
Right, right. So singing with this kind of connected phrasing helps us conserve breath.
Absolutely. Because you're using your breath more efficiently, flowing through the entire phrase instead of starting and stopping for each note. And it creates a more musical, expressive delivery, too.
And that makes a lot of sense. It's like, when you're trying to hold a really long note and it feels impossible, I bet using that connected phrasing would make a huge difference.
Totally. And there's another technique this source highlights that can help with those longer phrases. The catch breath. Have you heard of that one?
Ooh, catch breaths. I've heard singers talk about those, but to be honest, I wasn't really sure how to use them.
It's a really clever technique, actually. It's all about finding strategic moments within a song to grab tiny sips of air. Like a runner grabbing a quick drink at a water station during a marathon.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture.
So once you identify those natural pauses in the music, you can slip in these mini breaths without disrupting the flow of the song. It's a lifesaver, especially for those phrases that seem never-ending.
So to recap, controlled breaths, making those vocal cords play nice, thinking in phrases and sneaking in those catch breaths, I already feel like I have a whole new toolkit.
Exactly. And it's all about practice, really. The more you practice these techniques, the more natural they'll become.
Totally agree. Practice makes progress, right?
Yeah.
And you know, it's interesting. It makes you think about how much more we could achieve in other areas of life if we applied the same principles of mindful breathing and efficient use of our resources.
That's a really profound thought. It's true, whether we're singing, speaking, or even just going about our daily lives, being aware of our breath and how we use it can make a huge difference.
So much to ponder. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into singing and breath control. I'm definitely feeling inspired to go practice.
Me too. Let's see what we can do with all those long phrases now. Until next time.
Happy singing, everyone!